Thank you. Peace, everyone. I want to give a major shout out to all the storytellers. I'm definitely not slamming up here. I'm just going to share a story, and then it's going to be a peaceful night. I'm going to start with, my mom's kitchen table. My mom's and dad's at the time. My mom and dad were Muslim when I was a young man, and my brother was a little younger than me. And we used to sit at the kitchen table and eat navy bean soup, croquettes, traditional Muslim food. And, their relationship was pretty tumultuous. And by the time I was like 5 or 6, they were breaking apart. But I remember going to school early. I remember 3rd grade going to school, and when I was tested out, they said I was in the top 2% or whatever. They put me in the academically gifted class, and I ended up being the only black boy in my class. It was a black girl, and everybody else was white. And that was like a culture shock for me. So, I remember always getting cold pricklies from the guidance counselor, and my classmates would get warm fuzzies. And I remember walking to class to lunch, and I always get stuck in the middle of the pack or else at the back. And we'll walk in the lunchroom. Everybody sit down at the tables. We all pack in together. And all my classmates will pull their lunch boxes out, and they fresh foods will come tumbling out. They had the Smurf boxes, the Transformers, the He-Man. You remember the ages, Thundercats. And they had all the delicious foods that were coming out their boxes. And I used to shrink a little bit and be kind of sad. I seen the Twizzlers. Grapes were a delicacy back then for me. Chocolate-covered ants, the nice pastrami sandwiches. And I used to be so jealous, you know what I mean? Because I had to carry my brown paper bag and shovel out my bologna sandwich, sliced apples, and bag of chips. They'd be in a little fold-over plastic bag. So I just felt so inferior, and I think it kind of translated in my class because I started showing out. So my mom pulled me out and put me back in the regular school amongst my peers. And when I got back at school, of course, everybody called me by my whole name, Michael Banner. And now it was a little different situation because I was kind of like leading my class a little more for being smart, so-called. But when we go to lunch, all my classmates will go in the line and holler, free lunch, free lunch, free lunch, free lunch. And I'm still carrying my little brown paper bag. And I felt kind of left out because they had the square pizzas, with the fries. And, in the morning they had the sausage biscuits. And I used to be like super jealous. So while I was at lunch, I used to get a chocolate milk. And I started showing out in class at the lunch table every day. I started pouring my milk on my head. No explaining it. And every day. So my teacher started pulling me out and called my mom like, is there something going on at home that I need to know about? She'll scold me and ask me questions like, make sure they know who you are when you go to school. This is not who I raised you to be. So these are memories that kind of like stuck with me. You know what I'm saying? My mom left my dad, and we kind of let our dietary restrictions go, and we started being introduced to more foods. So I started being able to go to my cousin's house on the weekends. And some of them foods that were prohibited from us, that we used to have to sit in a corner while everybody else ate cookout, now we're able to be joined in. I can eat the skins with the hot sauce, and I can eat, okay, Ryan. And we could eat the hot dogs and the hamburgers, and I felt more included. You know what I mean? And I do remember a phrase my mom used to say. I'm not a Bible thumper by far, but I know they say like, Jesus said, it wasn't what you eat, but it's what it does for your spirit or something of that nature. So I started being less, restricted with my foods. And as time went on, I noticed how now that I was getting into foods, this is just for me, my discipline left me. I stopped, like at one time, we were terrified of crack and cocaine. Like when it first hit the neighborhood, my dad used to be scraping the plate, you know what I'm saying, and burning everything down. That used to like make us really scary. But once I started eating certain foods, I noticed some of that fear went away. So I called myself jumping out in the streets and selling drugs and things of that nature. Go to school, I had a pocket full of money so I could go in there and buy me 4 or 5 slices of pizza. So I didn't make the connection at the time, but as you know, life kept projecting me towards prison. That's where I landed at. And my third time in prison, I had like a little more lengthy bid, and I started like, dang, I gotta do something different because I'm gonna end up being a lifelong prison mate. You know what I'm saying? I read Blood in My Eye. I read about how George Jackson died in prison. So I started with my diet. And I stopped eating pork first. Then I stopped eating meat. Then I started letting go of the dairy stuff. And I became somewhat like a vegan. And I used to get up every morning and go to special diet for vegan. We used to get like grain cereal, little soy milk on it. Lunch would get peanut butter and beans and rice. Wasn't a lot of variety. But in the mornings when I used to get up and go to breakfast, we used to come out and some of the people who were with me used to throw their breads for the birds. They used to always throw their bread out there. And I noticed it'd be more and more birds that used to come out in the mornings for the bread. Like they'd be waiting for us outside. And one time as the winter came along, and we were still throwing the bread, we come out there in the morning, throw the bread, and all the birds was out there dead. They were all prostrate laying on their sides. And it really like made an impression on me that, for one, the giveaway ain't where it's at. You know what I'm saying? Like, my family had been through all the, Salvation Army and, you know what I'm saying, the boxes, free lunch. But all that throwing the food to the birds, that broke their rhythm, and they forgot to fly south for the winter. And that always stuck with me when I got out of prison. You know, I never imagined myself being a food justice advocate. But, you know, as I have grown in this role, that's something I never aspired to be, is someone who just tosses bread to the birds, if you will. So that's kind of my connection with the food. And thank you for having me here. Appreciate it.